Alright, this is Jackie with thecuttingedgeculture.com. I'm here with Telle of The Word Alive. We are in Northern Virginia, and you guys are sort of supporting your summer release, Life Cycles. This album sounded like it has more of an electronic music influence versus the last album. What kind of can you see attributed to that?
I think just like the incorporation of Tony and Zach doing all the electronics and synths and programming. They just had, a different ear and a different perspective on how we could kind of progress our sound and make our songs a little bit more interesting. The guys are really, really big into discovering new sounds and programming. They do it all the time. And so I think just like their interest in coming up with new and unheard sounds or different elements to our music than we've tried before, and just wanting to try new things. I think that's what it was ultimately.
Are there any people or certain events that influence the album?
I mean, just kind of life in general. Mostly my own. From like childhood memories, like on up until now. Death in the family. My grandpa died, and I felt like this record, and now I was kind of old enough to really truly appreciate his life, and so I felt inspired to write a song about that. And then a couple songs about the band and kind of continuations of songs that we had written on Deceiver and even Empire, and just being in a band and being now 26 years old and seeing life in a completely different way from how I did, when I was 22 and writing for The Word Alive. So, 4 years of life has gone by, and so I think this album is a lot deeper overall lyrically than our previous releases. But.
How would you say that your album art has kind of meshed with the ideas in the album?
Well, what we did was we kind of chose like an overall thing, which is the cover art, and that's just kind of representative of how people not necessarily use pills. I mean, that was just like a striking image, basically that could relate that perspective, but just how people like mask things in their life, like they, whether it's the good or the bad, some people are afraid of change, whether it could be the best thing that could happen to them, and then, certain people, when things are going wrong, they try to, mask that and hide that, and, whether that's with pills or with, abusing their bodies in one way or another, or just being in straight up denial. The record as a whole is kind of meant to be like, you should, take what life offers you, like good and bad, because it's ultimately going to lead you to like a much better place, and you're going to be a much better person if you, can kind of fight through the battles, and then you're going to appreciate the good days a lot more. So that's kind of what the whole album's about as a whole.
And your new video for Entirety features a boy sort of finding the light amongst a lot of darkness and destruction. Why is it important to have a video that isn't just performance-based, one that also tells a story?
I think it's just, if for nothing else, it's more interesting to watch. I think everyone's seen every which way someone can spin a guitar or headbang or jump up and down, like, all those things. It's kind of like everyone's done it. So I think throwing in, some really cool visual stuff is really good, especially when it helps paint a picture. Even with a video, like the video didn't match the lyrical meaning, but we sought out like someone's interpretation of the song themselves, and it's kind of the mentality of to truly find something, you have to be willing to go into like the darkness to try and find it, and then you also have to be willing to let go of things that you love, and that's kind of what the song is about. Whether it's I guess it could be a person, but most of the things in the video were just objects, things like a violin, like books and knowledge, I guess, of that. So it's just kind of like, to really find something, you have to kind of like let yourself be open to be found, or to find something that you didn't necessarily intend on finding, and just be open-minded. So that's kind of what that one's been.
Why make music videos in 2012 when there isn't a station that plays them really anymore?
There actually are a lot, more overseas than here, but I mean, and ultimately YouTube is one of the largest ways of discovering new music in the world. So even if there were zero, YouTube has like 1 billion people on it. So that's, you know, bigger than anything, you know, we could really be put on, and we're discovered by tons of fans, you know, every single day that way. So and even if we weren't making new fans off of it, it's for our fans in the first place. So it's, even if it was just something that people who only knew who the Word Alive were could see, it still would be, you know, beneficial for us.
Any thoughts on making more lyric videos?
I'm sure we will. Those are kind of, since videos are very expensive at times, those are kind of easy way to, you know, put some content out. And those are easy for people who don't know the band, and they can, you know, follow on the first time they know all the words. We have plans for sometime this year, I think, or I hope, to film our second music video for off of our album, and I'm really excited for that one because it's going to be way more detailed and intense than anything we've ever done before. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you know what song already?
Oh yeah, but I can't.
Top secret. All right. Some might say that this genre is a little oversaturated. What sets your band apart from the rest?
I mean, I think if you listen to our album, you can listen to it from front to back, which is something I think to be said about, you know, bands in our genre. I mean, people might think certain songs, you know, they might be like, oh, they sound the same. Well, I mean, musically, like, none of our songs most of them are in different tunings, different progressions, different, like, everything. And we don't ever use the same thing twice, you know, on a record. And I think you take that, you know, creativity, and then you blend it with, you know, our band is very passionate about, you know, our fans, and the fact that they, you know, they pay money to come to our shows and buy our records. So we put a lot into our live show with energy, and we try to play as perfect, you know, as we can. You know, and I think that in itself too sets us apart. That I feel we're a really strong live band. Even people who never heard of our band or don't like us have come to see us live, and then they're like, your live show like changed, you know, my view on your band. And I think that's the most important thing for us that sets us apart.
Very nice. A few years back, you covered Kanye's Heartless for Punk Goes Pop 3, and now you're covering Mercy. So who's the closet Kanye fan?
It's funny. If anyone, I guess maybe Zach, but none of us really listen to Kanye West all that often. It's weird. Like Heartless, when it came out, kind of how, you know, Punk Goes Pop for the most part is, you kind of look at the top 40, you know, like what's the song that everyone's singing along to, you know, right now, and we were just jamming through different ideas of different songs, you know, when we made Heartless, and that one just felt the most like the Word Alive. With Mercy, our mentality going into that was not so much of what like catchiest song can we find. It was more of what song can we showcase our, like, I guess, different talents and abilities, and on the more technical side, like, how can we showcase that? Because, you know, it's not necessarily something that a kid's going to listen to and be like, oh, the Word Alive's changing their sound, like, you know, where they would if we did it for our own song, like on our record. But for this, it's just like, you know, something fun for our fans to listen to. And it doesn't sound like the Word Alive entirely. Several of our friends who have, you know, listened to our band and been great friends of ours since day one, they heard it and they were just like, who is this? And we're like, this is us. Like, and it's definitely the most technical song we've ever written, and It's really, I think it's really cool, and it's kind of funny at the same time because we went just so over the top with it, but I think that's important to do with cover songs.
Any plans to play it on this tour?
Not on this tour. It doesn't come out for a while still, so we'll see if people even like it first.
Well, yesterday you came from New Jersey where you played, was it Fright Fest? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. And Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse got arrested for assaulting a fan. Do you think that this will impact how fans view his band? Or the genre in general?
No, not really. I mean, people have done worse and done worse intentionally. You know, I've known Ronnie for a while now, and I was hanging out with him, you know, most of the day yesterday. Him and Ryan, the drummer of that band, is a really good friend of mine. As much as they have maybe got a bad rap on certain things, like, and while it sucks, and you know, I'm very sad for the girl who got hurt, even though she's posted since being like, I'm fine, I don't care, I had a great time. Like, I think ultimately, like, yeah, his intention was not to hurt someone, you know. I know personally seeing him get off stage, and he was just like, he felt bad, and he was like, man, you know, like, I was just in the moment, you know, like, and I know a lot of people have done that, you know. Tons of my friends have jumped off stage and they broke people's nose, they broke their arms, like much worse
when you
injuries,
land on
like
them.
When you land on them, and like, or even myself, like I've like stepped in the crowd and I actually accidentally like broke a girl's finger once, and like gave a couple people black eyes, and it's never intentional. And I think ultimately his mentality is he wants to put on a show that's memorable, that people feel like they got their money's worth. And while I wouldn't have necessarily done it myself, just because of the way the stage was, it was pretty high. I know that like Ronnie wasn't trying to hurt someone. Like, he's done it at countless shows and not had issues. So I don't think, you know, that it should be as big of a deal as it is. Like, not to take away from the girl's injuries, obviously she got hurt, but you know, if she was fine with it and she understood that, she's like, you know what, like, I think too, like, worse injuries have happened from kids, you know, hardcore dancing, like every show, like, and nobody makes a big deal about how there's dudes flinging their arms into kids all the time, like, and that's intentional. Like, nobody says anything about that, you know, or people who are, you know, innocently crowd surfing and maybe hit someone in their face, hits the barricade, and you know, they bust out all their teeth. Like, it doesn't mean that person is a bad person because someone got hurt. Like, they're just trying to enjoy the show. Ronnie was trying to enjoy the show.
I think it's also sort of a cautionary tale of, if you're going to be in the pit, these are things that can happen.
You're going to be in the pit, you're going to be in the front row. Like, you know, it's part of being a show. I've got hurt at shows. Like, I've had my nose broke at a show before when I was younger. And you know what? I won't forget, you know, the shows. You know?
It makes it more memorable
yeah.
if anything.
There was a kid yesterday who came, and from our show, he had a huge scar on his back. He broke his nose and had to get 3 staples in the back of his head because he crowd surfed. And he said he would have done it all over again. And ultimately, I think, you know, that's kind of what rock and roll is, you know, like, you get in there, sometimes you get hurt, sometimes you don't, sometimes you're the one that accidentally hurts someone, and it's more or less like, we're all here to have a good time. And I think that people, especially with Ronnie's like history, I think it's easy to target him and say like, oh dude, he doesn't care about his fans. Like, I've seen Ronnie like go out of his way to care about fans, and you know, and at the end of the day, we're just normal people. We have bad days too. And so, you know, I've been called an asshole tons of times, and you know, I'm the guy that I literally try to stay for every kid, but you know, but sometimes people have bad days. You never know what's going on with someone, you know, else, and we're held to a higher standard ultimately, you know, but we're just normal people, you know, doing what we love, and sometimes, you know, sometimes shit happens. So.
Shit happens, especially more so in Jersey. But like I said,
yeah.
I think it's kind of, you know, if you know you're going to be in the front row, you know you're going to be in the pit.
Yeah.
Shit happens. It's a good thing she's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm happy she's okay.
Exactly. Speaking of sort of being okay, on a completely different tip, our website merges entertainment and the causes that musicians work with. Are there any causes, charities, anything like that that you yourself or other bandmates work with?
Yeah, I've done stuff with Trite Love on Her Arms, and I've done stuff with multiple ones. I used to, well, I still do occasionally, but I'll put things up for sale on eBay, and I'll like donate to, you know, just a random cause. Usually a lot of the nonprofits that are on Warped Tour, because I get to meet those people, or we'll do signings at their tent, and I'm like, well, they were really nice to us. Like, you know, the person was like, hey, can I get you guys an extra water or two? Like, you know, little things like that. So pretty much all the nonprofits on Warped Tour are filled with great people doing great things. And I really like Warped Tour because they do have so many nonprofits that really are doing something positive, and I think you can't really go wrong with most of them. Keep Abreast, you know, lots of those are great, so any of them really.
Excellent. So what's up next for the Word Alive after this part of the tour?
We go to Europe with Mirror Parkway Drive, and then we were there for about 3 weeks. Then we come home. We're home most of the rest of the year. We have a couple shows in Texas, a couple like festival shows. Then pretty soon here we'll be announcing our January-February tour that we have lined up. And then we're kind of working on the spring through summer right now. So a lot of stuff. Just always always more tours. And
nice that you can plan that far in advance.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
you have to, but it also helps. You know, I like having things planned out so I can know when I'm going to actually have time off, because it's very rare. So.
Well, looking forward to your set tonight. This is Jackie with thecuttingedgeculture.com.